And as we continue on in week one of Capital Outlook, it's our pleasure now to be joined for this Capital Outlook profile with Representative Mike Greear. Mike, you hail from Worland. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You represent House District 27, the constituents in Bighorn and Washakie counties, and you're now Speaker Pro Tempore of the Wyoming House. What does that mean to you now that you've stepped into this leadership role?
It means I'm not very smart. 10 years in the legislature and starting to be one of those folks that have some of that experience and that knowledge. And, when Tyler Lindholm lost his race, a lot of people reached out to me and said, Mike, it's probably time that you get in. And so I did, and was fortunate enough that the rest of the House elected me to it. But I really enjoy my position as the chairman on the Minerals Committee. I very much enjoy the minerals, the business, and the economic development side of that. Is a real passion of mine.
We'll talk about some of those priorities and some of the work that you've done with that here in just a minute. But I visited with a former colleague of yours, and I think you'll know probably who she is. And she described you in this way. She said that you're a quiet guy, that you're pretty serious about your work. She perhaps has baked you bread once or twice at representative meetings.
Yeah, I know who this is. Yep.
Yeah. But you're meticulous and not taking on too much. Is that an accurate description of you?
It is, and a very flattering description, quite frankly. And I have been very cautious not to take on too much. And so when you were asking me about what it means to be Speaker Pro Tem, I take those duties seriously. And it was a concern not to overburden myself. But I also, there's responsibility, and I'm seeing some of that now, and I'm glad some of the new legislators take me seriously. Like, send me your legislation. I will read it. I'll tell you what I think is wrong with it. I'll help you get it passed. And more importantly is I'll be very honest with you and tell you if I think it's awful.
Here's how she described that moment when you were working with her. And I'm talking about former Representative Lane Harvey, who is from the county to the north of you. You're so honest. You don't mean to hurt your feelings, but if your legislation's crap, he'll tell you that it's crap. Is that right?
But it saves time, right?
Yeah. You were a alumni of Arvada Claremont High School.
Yeah.
How many were in your graduating class?
It was a very large class. There was 13 of us. And I only graduated second in the class. So
still top 10%, right?
There you go. Top 10%. Yeah. You bet.
You told me off camera, you played sports. You were a Panther and you were a Bison. How did that work out?
Yeah, so it was a great opportunity. One small town, small gym, filled with cowboys and sheep herders. Basketball was just awesome in that environment, and I had loved that sport from a very young age. And then the opportunity came up for Buffalo to reach out, and a couple of us went and played, and it ended up for my junior and senior year, I was the only one playing. And a good friend of mine, he blew out his knee our junior year, but I was the last one to finish up. And great experience, and was able to be a member of a state championship. So that was good too.
And then on you went to the University of Wyoming. What caused a small town young Wyoming boy to want to major in economics and finance? Or you went to the Army and Sheridan College first, I should say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, my first person in my family to go to college. My dad worked for Burlington Northern Railroad. That's why we were in Claremont, old railroad town. And that's the Army was a path to be able to pay for school and maybe help me mature just a little bit. Went back home, Sheridan College, wonderful campus, great opportunity, experience. Then went down to Laramie, kind of fell into economics because I wanted a business degree. Accounting was not going to be in my future, I can tell you that. And I just enjoyed the economics courses. But my real goal was to go to law school from there. And so, so I did.
Spend much time in the student section at Cowboy football and basketball games, Representative?
Just a little bit, yeah. And I was well behaved.
As we all were. Our memories are clear about that. At least we can.
Pretty clear, yeah.
We can say that. How did you end up in Worland?
So I really wanted to stay in Wyoming. Just going somewhere else didn't appeal to me. I've got a couple years in Europe when I was in the service. Great experience. Just like Wyoming. And so 1994, if you recall, things weren't all that hot in this state. There weren't that many jobs around. And so a small firm here in Worland was expanding. They had advertised. I met with them. Really liked the people. And took the job here and moved up with my family. I had a whole family by that time. I was married and I had a 1-year-old son and a daughter just about ready to be born. And Worland's been my home.
You were a practicing attorney and then became involved with the Wyoming Sugar Company. Give us insight into how that worked. You're now president and CEO of the Wyoming Sugar Company.
It's funny. I have so many attorneys ask me, how did that happen? And so in 2002, Imperial went bankrupt and our community banded together. These were old sugar employees, our growers, members of the community, businesses in the community band together, and they purchased this old factory. I started doing legal work for them and continued to do more and more, was involved with their board work, got involved a little bit more on a national scene with the sugar program and other companies. And one day the CEO replaced Dick McCamey said, Mike, would you be interested in maybe transitioning into more? So we tried a part-time for a year to see if it would work. With my practice, I was in the legislature by then. And I thought this is really intriguing. It's challenging. I enjoy it very much. I didn't like particularly giving up my law practice. I very much liked my clients. Nice thing about it, a lot of my clients were farmers. And so in one way or another, I'm still trying to help them out.
What has the Wyoming Sugar Company done to support directly Washakie and Fremont County farmers?
Well, existing. and so you think about Wyoming, and we talk about diversity and manufacturing and trying to add value to products. And so we're taking a crop and we're processing it here, and it's turned into table sugar. I mean, the sugar's ready for consumption. It's one of those few value-added commodities that we have in Wyoming. And so, we look at, 40 million in gross sales. And because we're a co-op and how we're structured, being owned by our growers, that money goes to our growers, our employees, and we try to do, all the procurement and purchasing that we can do locally or within the state of Wyoming. And of course, we have to buy from elsewhere.
I mean, generally speaking, I've looked at national forecasts for beet sugar, and they seem to be good. Is your outlook one of a positive one as you look forward in the next 5 to 10 years for sugar beet farmers in Wyoming?
Yeah, for the next 5 years, we have a stable, solid market. A lot of that has to do with recent agreements that have gone into place with Mexico that have helped ensure a stable, consistent supply of sugar in the U.S., but kept us at prices that we can reinvest in the industry. Our growers can reinvest. We can pay our growers well for their beets, and we're able to invest in our old factory, invest in our employees. So the next 5 years are a pretty good outlook. Yeah.
I recall as a child going to beet dumps with my dad and my brother, just kind of checking them out. And it seemed to us that at least in central Fremont County, beet farming was a big deal. Not as much maybe today. And I'm curious if you think things will come back in different areas of Wyoming, or if it's pretty static now where beet farming is?
It's very static, and I have been very sensitive to our Fremont County growers because they're about 16-17% of our overall acreage, but they're extremely important because of the geographical diversity. I mean, you have all kinds of risk, but our Fremont County growers are longtime growers, very dedicated. Although we picked up a couple of new younger guys, which has been wonderful. Part of the reason our industry is stagnant is because we do have domestic marketing allotments, and while we've got some room for growth, there's not a lot. There's not a lot there, and we've got excess processing capacity. I'd like to see us grow into that, but it's slow. For a grower, it is a very expensive crop because it is a specialty crop. It's very expensive for the grower to enter into sugar beets.
You could put a filter on your inbox and filter out all of the noise and only hear from your constituents and just see their emails, which I'm sure you get to finally, but I know the hundreds and hundreds of other emails that you get. What's on their mind? What are they most concerned about today?
If I narrowed this down to a couple of main issues, one is education funding, taxes, and then really now our cuts to some of our programs that they're seeing that are out there. And of course, everybody is concerned that we protect their Second Amendment.
Sure.
You wrote in while you were running for re-election that you and you talked about taxes a little bit, that you don't like taxes. None of us do. But you said this, which I found interesting, that you also know that if I don't have a good community to attract people to, I can't attract employees here. I can't keep employees here. So it's a give and take. Are you feeling those pressures as an employer when people come to look at Worland, or at a larger level come to look at Wyoming, that they're just not certain about Wyoming's tax structure and hesitant, if you will?
So I hear your question being two questions with that, but the first question is, we feel pressure recruiting to Worland, and I hear that from other employers around the state. And a little bit of that, I go back and while I wasn't involved as heavily in Dow as I would have liked to have been just because of time constraints, but I did follow along with that very well. And really this quality of life that the younger, here I am now saying the younger generation, right?
Yeah.
It's difficult. Not everybody is built to live in a town of 5,000 people where the closest Walmart's 90 miles away. And the next community is 30 miles away and it's half the size of you. It takes people that appreciate other things in life other than, a certain flavor of coffee and a nice place to go for dinner on Monday night. But what we've been able to do in Wyoming, because of the foresight of a lot of people that came before me, and our minerals, is we've been able to build very nice communities in very sparsely populated areas. And so I look, Worland, we've got a wonderful aquatic center. Our community center complex is great. The museum, that Newell Sargent helped stand up here, is first rate. I was just at a meeting there this morning. We have so many wonderful things in this community that we owe to the minerals industry that's helped fund all of that, quite frankly.
So the second half of the question then, when employers who maybe want to locate, not just in Worland, but just in Wyoming, take a look at us and wonder, when's the tax hammer going to drop and I don't know enough? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I was on a panel with Eli and Steve Harshman. Everybody knows who Eli is, right? Speaker Harshman. And it was with oil and gas people from around the country. And the conversation started talking about shortfalls and this type of stuff. And you could tell it was making the room nervous, right? And I said, no, we need to look at, we're talking about shortfalls, but we have mechanisms to deal with them, right? We can look at cuts. We got savings. We know the minerals industry is a base to that. And, so it's one of those things is when we have discussions, we have to make sure we don't make people nervous about tax increases on that. Now, if you look at a manufacturing business where you come in, you got low property taxes, no income tax. You look at the history of Wyoming, look at even the discussions that we should be having now that we aren't are going on. It would be a very slow and gradual process with that. I really believe that the number one hindrance to locating in Wyoming is workforce.
We'll tie it up here. Pretty cool being a grandpa?
Oh, geez. I had no idea. On my darkest days, all I got to do is look at one of the videos my daughter sent me. It's awesome.
I agree. Representative Greear, thank you for joining us for the first time on Capital Outlook. And
thanks for having
me. To visit with you many more times. Thank you so much.
You bet.
This program is supported in part by a grant from the BNSF Railway Foundation, dedicated to improving the general welfare and quality of life in communities throughout the BNSF Railway service area. Proud to support Wyoming PBS.
This program was funded in part by a grant from Newman's Own Foundation, working to nourish the common good by donating all profits from Newman's Own food and beverage products to charitable organizations that seek to make the world a better place. More information is available at newmansownfoundation.org.
By a grant from AARP, serving the needs and providing real possibilities for the over 50 population in Wyoming. AARP Wyoming, proud to support Wyoming PBS.
Programming on Wyoming PBS is brought to you in part by Wyoming Humanities. Strengthening Wyoming democracy through the humanities for 50 years. ThinkWY.org. Proud to support Wyoming PBS.